4,500, 70 pounds, an Apex 245 bunkhouse here at Haylet RV of Coldwater, Michigan. And this is a textbook example of 10 pounds of sugar into a 5-pound sack. I think it's a mistake to refer to this one as the little brother to the 257 BHS Freedom Express, the other Coachman Ultralite. They share a very similar layout, and this one is purpose-built, smaller in size and stature, but this thing absolutely stands on its own merits. It maintains the, the AZDEL in the sidewalls like Freedom Express, but this is an easy towing, narrow body that's not extra tall. It sits lower to the ground, still has an outside kitchen, double over double bunks, and a newly revised interior with a longer 80-inch bed, just like the Big Brother. And that's what's kind of cool about this, is that it does everything that really matters. It just does it in a smaller feature pack package that's less weight and less money. Well, those are two good things. The smaller size of this camper does make it nice for towing. That tandem axle and narrow body make this thing handle extremely well, especially behind smaller vehicles. But if you want good counter space when you get there, and you want a nice sized dinette, and you want a smaller camper, well, something's got to give. And in this case, it's the ability to just easily walk through the camper with the slide out closed. Now, that being said, if you simply do the knee method where you put a knee here and then step through, you can get through to the refrigerator, to the bathroom, to the pantry and everything. And of course, what is neat about this though is you do actually maintain easy access to both sides of the bedroom. I don't know if they did that by intention or not, but the fact is you can do that. So, is it perfectly travel friendly? No. Is it end of the world, you can't travel with it? I don't think so. I think it's alright. So when we open that slide up, this little camper becomes not so little anymore because they use a full deep dinette on this sucker. So even though it's a smaller towing camper, it's not a smaller camping camper, if that makes any sense, because they did go with an extremely deep slide out. A lot of times when you get into narrow body stuff, you get these little 18-inch slide outs. Apex is like, nuh-uh, no, full 3-foot deep slide, 36 inches all the way out right here. There's a lot of various little cool things going on. Like, you don't have to lift up the bench ends, or the bench decking to get to all the storage below. You've just got full storage under here. You can lift up the bench stuff if you want to, but you don't have to. Now, if you're really noticing right here, right now, you're seeing that the table, it goes like all the way up to those cushions, and you're thinking, what kind of silly goofball put this nonsense together? Well, a very intelligent silly goofball is my answer, because this is one of the most multi-function convertible things you've ever seen. This is the Apex Swiss Army dinette, as I like to call it. That's RV Nerdism number 37 for the day, Swiss Army dinette. So, you've got those bunks in the back there. You got the pair of double bunks, and you got the bed in the front, so we can sleep 4 to 6 without even sneezing. But what if we need the kids bring guests or something? Well, this table here folds down into an extremely large seating area, because you might notice that's a 3-foot deep slide, and it sticks out, the dinette sticks out past the slide out quite a bit, actually. The other thing here is what it also allows you to do is you can remove the rear bench, basically, and convert this from a U-dinette into just a straight extra large 2-bench dinette that is going to be very 4-person comfortable. This is probably one of the best 4 adult dinettes you're ever going to find because of that. Now, if we get down here and notice, you may kind of key into the fact that the table mounts, they're not symmetrical with the table. They're not mounted in the center. That's because you can lift the table up, spin it 180 degrees and set it back down, and it'll actually hang off the end of the slide out, and it can convert into a very full functional big U-dinette, one of the biggest you're really going to find, actually. And when the table is actually hanging off the camper this way, that allows for you to put a couple extra little like kitchen bar stools or something right here, and you can have people sitting all the way around this sucker, and you can really feed the whole tribe if that's your interest. We've got all LED lights in here. I love the stainless appliance bundle just to kind of break up the color patterns of the kitchen cabinetry, and just adds a little spark of light and life to everything. We'll come back to the kitchen in a little bit. One thing I do want to talk about here, though, is the thermofoil countertops that they use through all of the Coachman Ultralite lines, and we carry both of them here at Haylet RV. A lot of brands, it seems like everybody and their brother's gotten on the thermofoil bandwagon. It's brands like Apex and Freedom Express that made it mainstream, kind of like AZDEL that we're going to talk about later. So it's a sealed edge pressed membrane. If you happen to splash water or spill something here or in the dinette area, it can't really like soak into this material and cause any problems. Now what it also allows for is a recessed sink, and they use these really heavy-duty sink covers right here to kind of maximize that. Now you also see that we've got a stone cast sink, not a cheaper plastic sink, because listen, that's not the color that, or pardon me, the sound that plastic makes when you slap it with something metallic. Now stone cast is a very high-grade material. It's rated for up to 500 degrees. You can pour boiling water in it and not damage it because water evaporates before it reaches the 500 degree mark. Over here we've got our double over double bunkhouse, and one of the things I think they did that's really intelligent, and they did it in both the upper and lower bunks, is they left that little corner plug-in and shelf station up there so that on a rainy day, you know, not being the biggest camper, and sometimes either the weatherman gets it wrong, and sometimes we, you know, plan our vacations way before we have any clue what the weather's going to be, sometimes weeks or months in advance. So having the ability to let the kids kind of entertain themselves a little bit and have a little extra screen time on a rainy day is not a terrible thing. Over here we've got a very multi-function, centralized pantry, linen closet, whatever you need it to be. It can kind of be a little bit of everything right here. Sorry about that. I had someone here calling me rapid fire on my phone and texting me like crazy, and I'm thinking, oh my god, did my wife get into an accident or something? And turns out no, they needed to know if they could borrow something from my office. Anyway, so moving on back to the task at hand, we have both a power vent fan and a big skylight above the shower back here. And nice enough that we don't need to turn on the lighting here in the bathroom during the day, really, if you don't need to. Full protective shower surround paneling around the back here. And not a large bathroom, since this is not a large camper, but large enough. You've got, even a bigger fellow like me, since the toilet is on a bit of a bias, I can still sit here. And with a foot flush, you don't need your face near your business. And enough of that. More of that sealed edge countertop stuff I told you about in the kitchen and living room area. So again, around a water source like a sink, you can, you know, if you splash some water around, no harm, no foul, just, you know, not going to soak into anything. Now, it's not the widest sink in the world, but it is actually surprisingly deep. You can get adult hands in here, and I like the fact that we have a full medicine cabinet and not just a cheap little mirror. You know, little details like that matter to me. Now, we've already talked at great length about the dinette and all the storage below it and whatnot. Let's look at the entertainment center real quick, because there is something going on here that I'm a big fan of. And if we come over here, they made just this, like, you've seen spinning TV entertainment centers before. And that's like not an earth-shatteringly new thing. But the fact that they actually mounted the Bluetooth DVD entertainment unit in the spinning housing right here, so that when it does spin around to face the bedroom, you can actually use the remote control at night to control this thing. You don't have to walk out into the living room and mess with the DVD thing and then go back into the bedroom and look at the TV to see if it's doing what you want. I don't understand why almost every RV manufacturer hasn't adopted this, because it's the simplest, smartest thing, but it's shocking how it's just almost never done in the business. This is the exception, not the rule. And it does, and see, really, this right here to me is the most apex of qualities, because they are all about doing it right, doing it simple, but doing it right. That doesn't cost any more money, but it is 1,000% better and more effective than not having the DVD stereo system in the spinning entertainment center. It doesn't take rocket science. It just takes about 5 seconds of thinking to realize that just because we always did it one way doesn't mean we always have to do it that way, and that's who these folks are. Now, right down below, we've got a very handy charging center down here for, you know, you've got a household outlet still open and available over here that the TV's not using. And you've got all the room in the world for like all the family's phones and stuff, with enough phone chargers over here to power 4 of them. And then, of course, we could always put like a power strip or USB adapter over here to power even more of them. Let me back up a little bit. We talked about half the kitchen earlier, but I want to start with these overhead cabinets up here. And you'll see that they're full depth. They don't shrink back when you go like in comparison to the microwave. And all of the cabinetry in this, by the way, is pocket screwed. Now we've got full plywood, full extension drawers below that bathroom, or pardon me, kitchen sink there. And they made a simple little revision here. They've really again, it's the touches that make me appreciate this brand. So you can see the toe kick in front of the kitchen, so you can actually belly right up to that kitchen countertop to do dishes. And the reason I think that's important, if that little toe kick wasn't there, it's not that it's hard to lean over the sink to do dishes, but it's not very friendly on your back, and it's not the recreation and relaxation part of camping, but that is that little bitty detail that costs no more money gets that job done for you. And you can see that they actually do have a wastebasket space below that nice stone cast sink there. Moving forward, there is a revision here that in the bedroom area that is easy to miss that was not there in previous years. So even though this is the smaller member of the Coachman Ultralite family, they are still using 60-inch by 80-inch residential size queen beds in here. So if you want to put a bigger, different mattress in or whatever, like a big pillow top or something, or a foam topper, you can. Sheets are easier to buy for an 80-inch bed like this. So it's just that instead of the short little camp queen, because they always used to use a camp queen, and then they had room to like kind of shimmy walk in front of it, but frankly it wasn't enough room to really be functional. So they said, instead of having a stupid space that we can't really walk around, why don't we just put a bigger bed in it that people want anyway? So bang. And then late last year, at the time of this filming anyway, they actually updated this window to be bigger so that if you're laying in bed and you hear a noise and you look up out the window, you can actually just see right out of your campsite. Now notice we've got the full-length hanging mirrored wardrobe closets here, in addition to full overhead cabinet storage above. So nothing is wasted in this, and that is something that I think Coachman as a brand does better than almost anyone else, is a lot of storage. And notice that big giant tall toothpick window opens for ventilation. Not all those tall windows do. So at the beginning of the video, I mentioned AZDEL. And a lot of folks are familiar with that now, and really Coachman's one of the biggest reasons. Coachman was the first brand to really go pretty mainstream with it, and I think they're the ones that really brought the attention to AZDEL. But if you're not familiar with it, what is this stuff? Well, it's the layer of material below the fiberglass skin. So you can't really see it, but it's what it does for you that matters. It is lighter than Luan wall panels, Luan wood. It's a resin, so it can't rot, mold, mildew. It makes the wall basically water repellent instead of potentially water absorbent. I've actually got a cutaway of an Apex Ultralite wall in my office that was submerged in water for 60 days and hasn't delaminated. Actually, what's kind of cool, if you go to the Apex plant down around the whole Amish, Michiana, Bermuda triangle, which is northern Indiana, southern Michigan area, where it kind of bleeds over, the fictitious land of Michiana, their sign for the Apex factory isn't a sign. It's literally an Apex sidewall that's just been hung up outdoors. And the edges aren't sealed. It's exposed to sun, wind, rain, snow 365 days a year for several years now. And it has performed better than I could have ever imagined. It's rare in this business where you actually get to see how well something performs. There's a lot of promises that are flung out there that you have to try to hope are true. This is one I got to physically see in action and know it works. Now, this is more of a simple series ultralight, but it's an intelligent, smart series ultralight. And what I mean by that, like, they didn't go nuts with a bunch of flash and sizzle that you don't need, but we still have nice convenience features like magnet catches and slam latches. And if you listen, they're using the nicer metallic latches, not the cheaper plastic compression latches. So anything they use on this, they use a good component, and that's another one of those defining qualities of Apex. If I had to define it in a simple sentence, I would say that they are simple where they should be and fancy where they could be. And that's, I think, just the best I could ever describe them. Now, I don't have my power box turned on right now since we're outside. There's not a lot of lights, but that's actually a motion-sensitive light. So as soon as you open this up, that'll kick right on. We've got the wider baggage door that's a little bit taller, and it's the same size all the way through on both sides, so it's easy to get to either side of the cargo compartment right here. And I love that it's fully finished. They didn't have to do that. And that's what, again, I mean, they're fancy where they should be, or could be, or whatever. They do what they need to, where they need to, and bang, there you have it. Simple side mount solar prep plug for those silvery solar suitcase jobs. We've got a tongue-mounted spare tire, which is another thing that's shared in common with its Freedom Express sisters here at Haylett RV. Why do they do that? A couple main reasons. It keeps the weight of the spare tire in front of the axles instead of behind it, because weight in front of the tires carries better and tows better with less wiggle and sway and bounce than weight behind the tires. Another thing is, if you choose to add a bike rack, you could still do a tongue-mounted bike rack if you're interested. You could also do a rear bumper mounted bike rack now because it's left wide open. Now, a recommendation I have for that, I don't like big 4-bike racks hanging off the back of general campers. I just really generally don't. So what I kind of recommend is split the difference for load equalizing. Put 2 bikes in the front, put 2 bikes in the back. That's, I think, mom and dad's bikes up front and the kids' bikes in the back, where it's pretty darn well. Now, you may have noticed, I'm not sure if you even registered when we walked around it, this is a 7.5 wide narrow body, so it's not a full 8-foot body, which means it's about the same width as your tow vehicle, and that will help you with headwinds. It reduces the total weight of the camper, but really doesn't reduce it enough that the floor plan's extremely affected, because they still use that full deep slide out right there with that Swiss Army dinette that we already talked about. So it's smaller on the road, but roughly the same size when you reach a destination. That's kind of the idea. The underbelly is enclosed and heated, so if it's going to dip below freezing overnight, you're going to be okay here. If it's going to hard freeze, pretty much any RV, you should probably still get winterized. Another little neat thing they do here on these slides is they use a really rough textured seal gripping slide wall, so that that slide wiper seal right there, it's always grabbed and fully wiped in or out, so that you don't have any sort of challenges there. Aluminum wheels are going to be standard on these. It just gives it that nice look, and it really contrasts well with the sidewalls. Now we've got a black tank utility flush there. Your outside shower is located over next to the outside kitchen, and I think that's a really intelligent location for it, because it can kind of function in a way as a pseudo sink for the outside kitchenette. We have an all aluminum structure on this, and actually the like your walls, your floor, your roof, basically all laminated, but all aluminum structure on this thing, which is another longevity item and lightweight item. You can see the simple backup camera prep back here. There's different backup camera systems, and they all kind of go, this is a Voyager versus a Furrion. More people, I think, are familiar with the Furrion name, but there's different cameras that can fit on different mounts effectively. And if you have a specific propensity toward one or the other, we can probably still find a way to make that happen. The awning on this is a maximum sized awning, because once again, this is all function. You know, it is function over fashion, but they do try to do a good measure of both wherever they can. And what's also cool about this is you've got a very nice, really aggressively bright blue LED awning and speaker lighting package on this thing. So not only does it give you maximum awning coverage, you know, starting basically up by the bedroom all the way back past the outside kitchen, but you can actually see like crazy at night with a light that is less inclined to attract just a whole mess of bugs effectively. So this is a little low profile outside kitchenette. These allow for having outside cooking and utility stations without the loss of interior sleeping space. And you have the same thermal foil countertop here that you have in the living room area. And I love how they include that little power outlet back there. There are always 100 uses you can find for that. Now, our Coachman Ultralites here at Haylitz, they have these free-floating Coleman camp grills, which if you talk to most people, they prefer these over those simple black RVQ bumper mount grills pretty much about 10 times out of 10 through the polling that we've done. Because this is a high output grill, and it's actually a grill, not just like a cooktop burner system. And it's fully portable. You saw how I lifted it up there. If you want to move it somewhere and not be under the awning, for instance, which I never understand, people really don't like cooking under the awning. It doesn't really like stain it up, or it doesn't generate enough heat to cause a problem. But if that's your preference, well, there you go. This is the easy way to avoid that. You can just simply put it on like a little picnic table away from the awning. And of course, we've got our little electric Dad's medicine cabinet over here for the barley pop and bottled water that I talk about all the time. Outside TV hookups under the awning make this very, like, I don't know, tailgate friendly. Now you're seeing double steps, not triples. It's, again, not because they went cheap, not because they went chintz, because the whole RV, being lighter weight, was able to be assembled on a smaller chassis, which means the whole camper can sit lower to the ground, which means we have a lower overhead height, lower center of towing gravity. Whole bunch of benefits go along with that, you know? There's a lot of big features in this little camper, and I've yet to see one of these come back in used. This is one of those campers that when people get their hands on it, they just don't seem to let them go. I can only count maybe 2 or 3 used Apexes I've ever seen in my career. And it's not because they aren't a popular brand. They are exploding in popularity right now, because I think there's a lot of folks who are looking for that down-to-earth, intelligent, downsizing small camper market, and that is exactly who these folks are right here. So with that, I invite you to give us a call here in Southern Michigan at our RV Superstore. We have between 400 to 500 RVs in stock and at, roughly any given point. And we only do everything except for hidden fees. We don't do those. But we do hitching, pieces, parts, trades, financing, truck and trailer package deals, RV delivery, and everything between. So take care, stay safe, have fun, and happy camping, everyone.